what's up, guys?
Hey, how you doing? How's it going?
Welcome back.
Welcome.
So if you're new here, my name's Arnat.
And I'm Sophia, and we're plant parents.
Ta-da!
Today we were thinking about things that we wish we had been able to have told ourselves when we first began.
Yeah.
These are just general, things that we've learned along the way, things that seem obvious now. But surprisingly, a lot of people don't know these things to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, there are some stuff that I didn't know either.
Yeah, there's a lot of myths.
I mean, we are still new parents. We've been doing this for...
But this is what we have learned in the last year and a half of what, what we've been doing here and picking up skills and kind of debunking some of the things that we had maybe previously thought we knew about plants before going down this road. We've chosen 5 of quite a few things that we wish we had known when we first began this plant journey. We're going to start with number 1. And number 1 is that you can always end up overwatering your plants.
Yeah, somehow.
I was telling this to Nate, when I first sort of started picking up little cheap plants from IKEA, on my desk, thinking it was going to be really cute, I overwatered my plants like crazy and couldn't understand why they kept dying on me. And I kept watering my plants like every 3 days, which is crazy. I didn't understand why they kept dying on me. But then we got into the plant game properly. And yeah, you want to explain why you shouldn't overwater your plants?
You can just kill them.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yes, basically there's only so much water a plant can drink every time it gets watered.
Yeah.
If you overwater that plant is going to basically soak up way too much moisture in those roots, and those roots will start to rot. And as soon as the roots start to rot, it is downhill from there for the plant. The roots are like the nerve of, almost like the brain, the heart of the plant, and so therefore once they start to rot, it's really difficult to get it back again. You can trim rot away, but
it's not just it's another way to save the plant by just cutting off the
rotten roots. So you may, if you're lucky, if you notice that your plant is starting to look a bit limp, or say you've got a plant that's kind of bending over or getting a bit squidgy at the petioles, it may be that it's a sign that it's got way too much moisture.
The best thing, again, we will always go back to that. Just listen to your plants.
Yeah.
That's the best thing.
I mean, general rule of thumb for a lot of plants, I guess, especially for some of the aroids that we've got, is that if the first 4 centimeters or so is dry, then maybe it's time to give it a little bit of water. But some plants really like to just be completely dried out as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's another trick where you can check if the soil is still moist enough or not. Sometimes you can see on the surface of the soil, it looks dry. But if you put your finger in, just stick your finger in, and you can feel if it's still moist.
Yeah, or you can use a stick.
A stick, if you don't,
those sorts of things. It's easy just to walk around and put a little stick or your finger in just to check the plants. So don't overwater your plants. Number 2, location. One of the biggest mistakes, I think, especially when we first started to get into plants, was we would just whack them in the room anywhere.
People were like, oh, the monstera looks nice there, it looks nice there, or the philodendron looks nice there. Just we didn't really thought about the plant.
No, we didn't think about what the conditions the plant might need.
Yeah.
We didn't know whether they were low level, they could sort of survive in lower light settings, or if they were plants that really required high light. And again, it was always one of those things where it was they're not growing very fast.
You can see
you can see when a plant doesn't get much light, they'll start losing the coloration in its leaves because it just can't photosynthesize. It's got nothing to photosynthesize off. Grow lights are a really great way. If you've got a room that doesn't have much light, ours has one window and we don't get morning sun coming in here, have like the afternoon sun. So in the winter, we almost don't get much light in here at all.
It's quite hard to keep the light in here.
Yeah, it is. So we do have a lot of grow lights going on. It is, you know.
I mean, the main light, don't really use the main light.
We don't use our big light. The big light anyway is too bright for either of us to handle anyway. We don't like the big light. But the grow lights also, we needed them for this winter. They really wouldn't have made it had we not had the extra grow lights. We've even got one that's by the big window as well.
Yeah.
Just to give it a little bit of a boost in the evening time. So in the summer, they love it. They thrive. We get some wonderful afternoon sun. But in the winter, it's very dark in here. So yeah, you've got to think about that when you're buying plants. But also,
like, if you know your plants, right? And if you know your plant good enough, you will see which position and location you put it in suits the plant.
Yeah, Google it. Or ask if you're in a garden center or a plant shop. Ask the people that work there, because generally they should know. So if you're a bit concerned about the light situation in your room or in your house, then have a look at the plant and see what conditions it can survive in and what it can thrive in as well, because some plants do actually prefer being in slightly shadier spots. Maybe they're low-level plants, and then there are other plants that just want to soak up all the sun.
Yeah, you can just test it out with the plant that place that you think it suits to the spot,
and see how it does for a few weeks.
Just see how it reacts, and if you feel like it doesn't really work for the plant,
then find a new location. And whilst it, you see a lot of Instagram videos or social media where it all looks beautifully set up, a lot of these are arranged for those videos or those photos. You're going to have to sort of sacrifice a bit of design over what your plant is going to thrive on.
Yeah.
So you got to make
kind of work around it.
Yeah, you got to make their needs a priority in a way.
Yeah.
And you can design around it. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're buying plants, not to just whack them in any old spot and think that they're going to be happy there, because they might not.
Yeah.
And then there's other plants that might need also a bit more humidity. You could place them in places like kitchens or in your bathroom.
Yeah.
We've got some monsteras in our bathroom that were rescues, and they've done quite well there because there's a lot of humidity in there. Yeah. So
don't forget
location. Important. That's a really important one.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then number 3 is there's no such thing as an unkillable plant, guys.
No.
No such thing.
No such thing.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
Yeah, even go back to cactus.
I'm sure that a lot of you tropical plant collectors will understand that some of us are just not cacti and succulent people.
No.
We're just not.
Not yet.
We're just not. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We'll get there slowly, and we understand that these sometimes are marketed to people as unkillable plants. They are hardy plants. The problem that we have is that we tend to their needs just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
We're a little bit used to all of this.
Yeah.
And our setup is for tropical plants, so you got to remember that ambient wise as well, sometimes cacti just don't like that kind of environment.
It's just too much
humidity. Yeah. And we've had cacti and succulents that have rotted on us, unfortunately, to the best of our abilities. We have tried.
Yeah, and even if we tried not to give any water for a few weeks, it still died because the humidity in the air was just too much.
Yeah. So just remember that whilst you'll see things that are unkillable, there's no such thing as unkillable. There are hardy plants that will be able to withstand a bit of neglect.
They can survive.
But they are not unkillable. And don't be ashamed if a cacti does die in your care. Don't be ashamed of that.
Because we know a lot of people saying how could you kill a cactus?
They're so easy. Like, yes, sometimes. Yeah. But if you're not, again, it's all about the research. It's all understanding the plant and what that plant needs. And again, different cacti and different succulents will survive in different conditions. So I guess the number one rule of thumb is know your plants. Again, every condition is different. Every room is different. Yeah. So number 4 is pot size matters. Oh, pot size does matter. Yeah, it does. The size of the pot that you have for your plant really matters, because it is depending on the size of your plant and the roots underneath. What happens is, and I've made this mistake, we've all made this mistake, you end up getting a lovely plant.
Guilty.
Yeah. You end up getting a lovely plant, and you've had it in your care for a few months, and you start to notice that maybe it might need a brand new pot. Maybe you started to notice the roots are poking out at the bottom. So you go to repot it, and you think, oh, it needs a bigger pot.
That might help.
That might help. But you end up choosing something that is humongous, too big for the plant. And you end up with it swamped in a ton of substrate and soil.
Yeah.
And the reason why this is a bad idea,
it's basically, if you think about it, if you're in the bathtub, full of water, right, and you try to drink out of it, you're not going to survive.
No. So it's a bit like the overwatering situation. When a plant has a load of roots in a pot and it's spread out across the pot, it will have plenty of room to soak up all the water in the pot and, feed on that, and that will be enough for it. And then the soil will be dry, and you will continue to then water it again. If you have these tiny little roots in a great big pot, you're going to water it, and it will be able to drink about the amount that's at the top here.
Yeah.
And the rest of it down here will still be wet. And then that will continue to just pick up moisture and pick up moisture and pick up moisture. And again, then the roots won't be able to take in any more moisture, and you will eventually get root rot. So size matters. And if you're wondering about the size of the pot that equates to the roots, generally on a whole, you want it so that the roots fit into the pot snugly with a little bit of substrate underneath, so that they have a little bit of room to expand, but not too much.
Yeah.
That's basically the general rule of thumb. And it's something that I didn't know when...
Never knew that too.
Yeah, I didn't know this. It was like... it was something that didn't seem so obvious to me when we first started, was like, what kind of pot size do you use? But generally on a whole, if you've got a substandard plant that's just like your spider plant, or, your ficus behind you, don't put it in too big a pot. Make sure that the roots are nice and snug in there. There's still a little bit of room for them to grow, but don't swamp them.
Yeah.
Is basically what it is. Who knew that before they started? I didn't.
Didn't know that too.
Yeah, thanks to all the YouTubers out there, the plant YouTubers out there. Shout out to you guys. We've learned a lot. Yeah. And then the final one is, not all plants like the same substrate. Yep. So again, imagine a scenario.
Soil doesn't equal soil.
No. So imagine a scenario. You've gone and bought a lovely new plant from... For us, I guess, you've got your big box stores in America. Over here, we've got like B&Q. So you've gone to B&Q and you go, I fancy a new house plant. You think, I need to get some new soil. And you buy the soil, the cheap soil, because you're like, I don't know which soil to use. I'm just going to get a big bag of compost soil.
Just a bag says house plant.
House plant mix.
Soil.
Heat free, hopefully. You go home and you pack it full of that soil. And then suddenly, weeks later, you find all sorts of problems with that soil. We had that situation once where we actually had fungal gnats, and it happened so many times.
Yeah. Even like flies and, all this stuff.
Yeah, so one, the cheap substrate sometimes can be a bit of a trouble when it comes to pests. But also, it doesn't really provide much nutrients. There isn't much in those cheaper soils that are going to give that plant nutrients.
It's enough for a garden. But...
It's enough for just a substandard bit of plant if you want to, but it's not going to allow your plants to thrive, to be honest with you. Yeah. We started, again, researching into the kind of substrates that our plants might like, and we started buying Soil Ninja.
Best.
We bloody love it.
And again, thanks to
Soil Ninja.
Thanks to the
YouTubers putting us onto the Soil Ninja.
Yeah.
But that changed the game for our plants.
Yeah.
And we do use the basic mix, and then we do buy other things such as like the cocoa husk, the bark and things like that, and we'll mix it depending on the plant. We started to learn that each plant, again, has very different needs. So
some plants need a bit more of the
chunky mix.
Yeah, more of the chunky mix.
Yeah, because like aroids like a bit of air in their soil. And so, especially with like the anthuriums and stuff, like orchids, they like a chunkier mix. And so, that kind of thing can really change the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to cost you all that much. You can buy like the standard soil and then get all the components with it and mix it together and actually create a bit of nutrients for your soil. So we soon discovered that it does make such a difference, doesn't it? It does make such a difference. So make
the
sure,
best thing, try it out.
Yeah, make sure to remember again, and I guess this is the general rule of thumb, is to research your plants. Go onto YouTube. YouTube's a fantastic resource as well. There's a lot of fantastic creators out there that we learned from right at the beginning of our plant journey, and these people have been taking care of these sorts of plants for years, and they've got like 300 plus house plants and all of this. These people really have taken the time to do their research. So get out there, look online, get onto YouTube, get some advice. Yeah, these are the kinds of things that I guess were just the basic, and it seems obvious to us now.
Yeah.
But they really did kind of change things for us in the survival of our plants. Once you get the basics down, you can have a play around as well.
True. Maybe change the soil, change the pot, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about possibly getting into semi-hydro. It's a bit scary, but we want to try.
It is a bit scary. Yeah.
And if you guys have tried out semi-hydro, let us know in the comments and let us know what you like to use or what your experiences were. But what are the things that you wish you guys had known when you first started getting into plants? Or what are the things that you didn't know until now? Let us know if you found any of the things that we had said useful.
I think what?
I hope so. But if you do find this kind of video useful, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
for watching today.
Yeah, like, subscribe, and click the bell for more from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and
take care.
See you next week.
Bye. Peace. Are you okay? You're so old.